الله أكبر الله أكبر حي على الصلاة.
Once again, I rise, giving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the highest of praise, the highest of honors to his holy and divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I want to extend those honors to the forerunner, the harbinger, the most honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who did warn and stir up the nations. I'd like to give honors to the Moorish American standard, the red flag with the 5-pointed green star in the center, representing the highest principles known to man, which is love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I also would like to acknowledge the United Mercantile Training Banner, also known as the American flag. I want to give honors to all Moorish Americans, both past, present, and future, who strive to promote this Moorish divine and national movement by way of the Prophet's holy instructions and divine laws. And I would like to give honors to all organizations who strive to promote the interests of all Asiatics, African Americans, or people of African and indigenous descent living in America. I would like to give honors to Temple Number 19, the Office of the Grand Governor, Assistant Grand Governor, the Sheik staff, the admin staff, and the acting vanguards to keep the peace. And last but certainly not least, I want to give honors to you, the ills and bays, and our sacred groves, because when man honors man, he honors thy Father God Allah. Islam Moors. Yeah. Once again, all praises are due to Allah for having us here on another holy day evening, so we may continue to build on things that make us better citizens and reason together. Once again, welcome. My name is Rashid Ibn Haliym-Bey, Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America, subordinate number Temple number 19. One more time, I want to ask that each and every one of you please check your phones and make sure they're on silent or vibrate as we proceed with our meeting. Just to continue the conversation that we had a moment ago before we had opened up our meeting, when we talk about nationality, we're talking about a specific thing. Nationality is not a object. And for those that have heard this before, please bear with me. I just want to touch on this because I can't stress it enough. Nationality is not a thing that is considered to be lightning in a bottle. It is not an object. This is not nationality. Moorish American is your nationality, but the Moorish Science Temple of America is not the nation. All right? You are the nation. Nationality is defined as that quality of character which arises from a person belonging to a nation or state, and it also determines your political status. All right. So based upon that definition of nationality, nationality is quality of character. And when people share that quality of character, that in itself becomes a nation. Nationality is an idea. All right. So what are we saying? We are saying that you, first and foremost, are Americans. So when the Prophet tells us, when we go over our Moorish Science Temple of America, Divine Constitution and Bylaws, we always, and I want to use this term loosely, out of respect for everyone in this room and beyond, that we loosely look over the title of our Constitution. It says the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. This institution is called the Moorish Science Temple of America. All right. Now, be that as it may, when we talk about this, so this is an organization that is incorporated with these United States of America, for better or for worse. Regardless if you want to call it a corporation, quote unquote, regardless if we want to consider it not being a said republic, all of those things. Our Prophet Noble Drew Ali still signed an affidavit that is in Cook County, Illinois, that binds us to this republic, for better or for worse. All right. Therefore, we are considered American citizens, for better or for worse, by hook or by crook, bittersweet. It is what it is. All right. The Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws, it states in Acts 4 and 5. Acts 4 reads, salvation, Allah, unity. The Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws, all members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and partial of the government and must live the life accordingly. Then it goes on by saying, Act 5, this organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of this said government, but to obey hereby. Now, on a general basis, yes, we are talking about this divine and constitutional bylaws. But again, the name of the organization is what? The Moorish Science Temple of America. So we are not only to obey these constitutional laws in this covenant, but we're also to obey the laws and constitution of the government to which we are domiciled, these United States of America. Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, you are Moorish American. All right. So that means that we are American-born citizens, just soulless by blood, just sanguineous by blood, just soulless by the soil. But we're also descendants of Moroccans and born in America. All right. Now, I'm going to touch on the Moroccan Empire, the Moorish Empire briefly this evening. I wanted to touch on it a little bit more in depth, but because of time and not me being able to get all of the resources from the research that I have, I'll only be able to share it with you in part, but I will give you some references to follow up to verify what I'm going to share with you this evening. So what I'm saying overall is that we are American citizens, but we have a vantage point. We have a lens that we have to process the affairs of men through. And we process this through a Moorish lens. Prophet always says in the Moorish Science Temple of America to go back to the state of your foremothers and forefathers, right? So with that in mind, masterminds trace themselves back, thus they know. In other words, we have to research what it is our Moorish foremothers and forefathers have done. Our Prophet Noble Drew Ali has given us a trail. Master leaves his path clearly cut. All right. So what did he do? All right. Well, he named the organization the Moorish Science Temple of America. He could have named it so many things. He could have named it the Nigerian Science Temple of America. He could have named it the New Guinea Science Temple of America. He could have named it the Malian Science Temple of America, etc., etc. But he did not. He named it Moorish. Why is that? Because Moorish and Moors cover a broad spectrum of African history. And him being a prophet, him being a mastermind, he was well aware before 23andMe, before African Ancestry, before Ancestry.com, that it was very difficult for us to salvage our specific identity. He also knew that during this time, with the Berlin Conference taking place, that what we know as Africa from the time of the transatlantic slave trade is not Africa anymore. The way that it was demarcated, or the demarcation lines, is not how we separate it. All right. So the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, well, there is one concept known in history since the age of antiquity and beyond, and that name is Moorish. That name is Moorish, and it stretches from 711. I'll go so far as to say it stretches from the creation of Allah, the creation of the Moabites by way of Allah, rather, all the way to up today. All right. We know the Moors are considered the descendants of the ancient Moabites. We know that Moab means of the father. All right. So when we're saying that we're Moorish Americans, who are we? We're saying that we're of the father. Right. But going back to this ideology of nationality, again, it being the quality or character or character. So that means when we say that we're nation building, that means that we're building character. What does that mean? That means that we are perpetuating, first and foremost, the highest principles known to man: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. That's the beginning of our character. So if we don't know anything else regarding our plight as Moorish Americans, we should know that we are to exhibit and perpetuate into all those things that mean project, if you will, the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Nationality is a collective idea. It is a social construct for us to identify and galvanize and create a nation state. The nation state is determined by how we determine ourselves. In reflection over this past week, there's something that we have to remember. There are two things. And I want to make it. I'm oversimplifying it for a specific reason, because we have to be honest with ourselves and we have to be real with the situation. All right. There's two things, generally speaking, that we as a people have to establish. We have to establish community, and we have to establish finance collectively. If we do not establish those two things, then we will be in a perpetual vicious cycle. Point blank, period. Prophet Noble Drew Ali says a nation cannot rise any higher without economic security. Prophet says we cannot go any higher. So regardless of how much we meditate, regardless of how much information we know, regardless of how much paperwork we try to fill out, if we do not establish economic security, then we are not fulfilling the main tenet of nationality, perpetuating an idea. We're not doing that. Why do I say that? I say that because look outside of these windows. Look in your neighborhoods. Look at all of the other races and nationalities that are in Atlanta, Georgia, that are in Alabama, and look at what they do. They establish community and they establish economy, and it works in conjunction. So if I was to keep it simple, and if I was to keep it real, as some would say, Prophet is telling us that you have a nationality. Your nationality is Moorish American. That means that you are to think like your forefathers as an American citizen. When you receive your nationality card, your membership card, it says, I'm a citizen of the US of A. All right. So when you receive that nationality card, you are accepting the fact that you're a US citizen. That means that you do have driver's license, that you do have license plates. That means you do all those things that American citizens do. You have a social security number, etc., etc. But you're also beholden to the community that you receive this card from. So the next step is to build a business. Every Moorish Science Temple of America should be, or should have a business, should have at least one business. We are a religious corporation. Moorish Science Temple of America, our Prophet Noble Drew Ali set this up very specifically. All right. Those who have the ability to do so, research Hurge Revised Statute 32, chapter 32, Illinois. All right, and I'll verify that. I believe it is 32. Is 32? 32 and 36. I thought so. 32 and 36. Research that.
Is that H-E-R-D or H-E-A-R?
Okay, pardon yourself. H-U-R-D. Hurge Revised Statute. All right. From that, you will see the literary construct of the affidavit. All right, and I'm just going to stop right there because I can go further and further. But can someone tell me what a religious corporation is? Yeah, I tell you. Okay, that is the Moorish Science Temple of America is a religious corporation. I tell you what, can you give me some examples of religious corporations?
That's a good question.
Okay.
Well, Moorish Science Temple.
Okay, Moorish Science Temple. I tell you one. I give you two. Oh, go ahead, Moore.
I rise with all praise to Allah and the highest of honor to His noble and divine prophet Drew Ali.
Islam.
I believe the Vatican is a religious corporation.
Okay. Let's keep it practical. Let's keep it simple. Give me some other examples of religious corporations. I tell you, I give you one. The YMCA. Salvation Army. Chick-fil-A. Yeah, Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A. They open 7 days a week?
No, sir.
Y'all have a Chick-fil-A down here?
Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. They closed on Sundays.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No, we don't go to them, so I.
Oh, you don't go to them? Okay, praise Allah.
I've not been there, but you know.
All is well.
Okay.
Yeah, religious corporations, all right? So it's nothing special, if you will. It's specific, but he knew that in order for us to establish a solid foundation, it had to be based upon spiritual and moral values. That is how you build character. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, in the articles of Moorish literature, in the Moorish Guide, states that our problems in a larger sense are economic and social, but in a more profound sense, they are moral and spiritual. So again, this all goes back to collectively establishing character. It's all it goes back to. Because once we establish that, then we have the idea on how that we need to understand finance, how we can build finance. We give millions and billions of dollars to athletes and celebrities each and every day, and we see inconsistently that their morals, their spiritual values they're waverly. We see that. We see that people that start off with $1 billion, millions and billions and all trillions and whatever the case of dollars, and within 6 to 8 years they have nothing. And we can chalk that up to upbringing, but imagine if this person was in a community where they knew how to cultivate their well-being, their character. That is an exercise in not knowing your character. The gnosis of a thing, knowing better. What is it saying? If you know better, you do better. So that is the underlining plight of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Develop character, develop an idea. All right, but going back to a religious corporation. So a religious corporation is just that. It's a simple construct that was built so that you may be able to branch out and produce businesses. All right. If we go further into the additional laws of the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Prophet states that all said businesses are to be opened up under the Moorish Science Temple of America or the Prophet. Why is he doing that? Because just like any franchise, you have a headquarters, and that headquarters is in where? It's in Chicago, Illinois. All right. But also with that, you have branch temples. Branch temples are also considered to be franchises. All right. This is a franchise, and our headquarters is in Chicago, Illinois. All right. 3140 Indiana Avenue, Chicago, Illinois, 60615, USA. That is our headquarters. All right. And from there, we are supposed to expand and make more businesses. Islam family. We are supposed to make more businesses. If we want to establish nonprofit organizations. The Moorish Science Temple of America is not a nonprofit organization, but any one of us can start a Moorish Science Temple, can start a nonprofit rather, as a branch. You get what I'm saying? Moorish Science Temple of America is not a 501c3. Yes, all right? It operates under the tenets of a church. You have some churches that operate as religious corporations. All right? They don't operate as 501c3s. All right? So you have the best of both worlds. You're able to conduct your business in a manner that allows you to adhere to whatever your tenets and your covenant is with the great God Allah. Does that make sense? Does I understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, the Moorish Science Temple. You got a question, more?
Yeah.
Go ahead, ask a question, more.
I rise giving all praise to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Omniscient, the Merciful.
Islam.
And I give honors to His Holy Divine Prophet, Noble Drew Ali.
Islam.
So with the structure of a religious corporation, as you stated, that's a mechanism for you get all the paperwork for that set up, and then once you expand, like Temple 19 is an expansion of the home office in Chicago.
That's correct.
Aren't you able to do that with a regular corporation, or is that only specific to a religious corporation?
No, you can do it with any corporation.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do that with any corporation. If you have a corporation, you are well within your rights to begin to branch out and franchise. That's the benefit of that, because you have the right to enterprise.
So what if the already, like, okay, let's say you set up an organization, and the headquarters they get everything within mind, they become a corporation. corporation, but you already have like branches or chapters set up. You know, would you be able to just add them on to like whatever document that show and prove like, okay, this temple down here is like temple number 3. This is a part of this.
Right.
But it's already, I'm saying it's already up and running. It's already established.
Yeah. So so it sounds like the question is, can said temples absorb each other?
Yeah.
Okay. In theory, yes, but every respective temple is supposed to be separate in their own right. All right. So just like the synagogues and just like the Jewish temples, you're supposed to have that on at least in every corner and you know and of your community. All right. The conundrum of the grand bodies were not supposed to happen. All right. Once the prophet veiled the form, then there was still supposed to be there was not supposed to be any type of fragmentation. There was not supposed to be any type of separation. All right. They were supposed to acknowledge Eliel as the head and move forward with developing more temples and developing communities, etc., etc. And because man is both truth and falsehood strangely mixed, he had issues and we separated, and here we are now. All right. So the best thing that we can do as having those different grand bodies and so on and so forth is to exercise chapter 10 in our Moorish Science Temple of America Holy Quran. And that is understanding that everybody sees Allah in a different light, in a different way, in a different manner. And we are supposed to respect that and understand that within those differences, there is still unity and working together. All right. And then, you know, we all play our own part in this collective because it's still one Allah. Is still one prophet. All right. So that's what we're supposed to do. The Moorish Science Temple of America, again, is not the nation. Moorish Science Temple of America, again, is not the nation. It's the institution that fosters the nation. Yes, sir. Okay. Yeah, it's the institution that fosters the nation. So we have responsibilities. We have respective roles. All right. So being that we recognize these roles, that's what we labor to do. All right. So the situation comes in, if you will, where there's a struggle in an interpretation of where do I belong? Am I really a Moor? If I'm really a Moor, what kind of Moor am I? Am I Assalamu alaikum Moor? Am I a Native American Moor wearing a feather? You know, what type of Moor am I? You want to hear the answer? Moor is a Moor. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. All right. We cannot continue and afford to determine what type of Moor that we are, because when we constantly do that, we start to open ourselves up, just like our ancestors did, to being separated and to being defeated. All right. That is the underlying issue. If we were to again to go back to chapter 48 in our Moorish Holy Quran, we'll see that every said temple, as long as they have a lawful charter, is able to establish their own customs, as long as they're in conjunction with the divine constitution and bylaws in the charter. Am I right? If we have the affidavit in the charter, we know that regardless if we're Assalamu alaikum Moors or if we're Native American Moors, that we still have to be missionaries and promote the faith of Ali in America. That's what we're supposed to do. So if we're supposed to be the prophet's Moors, then everything that the prophet is giving us an order to do, then that's what we're supposed to do. Point blank, period. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no, well, maybe the prophet, some of the things that the prophet did is open to interpretation, but some of the things are not. Prophet said we are to foster the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. There is no loose interpretation of that. We are to foster the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. All right. Why? Again, because we worship Allah. Raise your hand if you do not worship Allah. All right. We worship Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of what? Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Then these principles are divine. These are principles that come from the very entity, the very deity that created us from the jump. Key 1, who made you? Allah. Key 2, who is Allah? Father of the universe. Key 3, can we see him? No. Key 4, where's the nearest place we can meet him? In the heart. Allah made us. Made us fearfully and wonderfully. All right? We are perfect as any perfect seed can be. The only thing now is to be cultivated so we can unfold beautifully and wonderfully. All right? That is up to us. You cannot get beyond the work. I cannot say this enough, and I'll say it again until I get blue in the face. Proclaiming your nationality, receiving your card is not going to save you. You still have to roll them sleeves up and get to cracking.
Yes, sir. Islam.
That's what it is. It's all about the works. What is it saying in Passion text in the Holy Bible? Faith without good works is what?
Dead.
It's dead. Moors. So when we get this, when we receive, or when we are returned, when our nationality is returned back to us, we are receiving something that we are obligated to uphold. Moors are active and not passive. As I grow in my age, I understand how much of a detriment it is to be conscious. Because conscious don't mean anything. You got people out here in the world that's doing devilish things that are conscious. They know all about it. That's how they doing those devilish things.
That's right.
So we can be conscious all day, every day. But to be active, when we look at our ancient foremothers and forefathers, even when the time that we didn't know about the Moorish Science Temple of America, they were considered activists.
That's right.
They didn't say, here lies Harriet Tubman, conscious. Here lies Frederick Douglass. He was conscious. Right, he was woke. You know what I'm saying? It's not what we had. We had people that saw that their condition needed to be better. And after they corrected their condition, they knew that the same condition that they had, other people had, and they labeled to correct those conditions as well. That's what it means to be a missionary. You are supposed to do the work of Allah. That's all it is. There is no, it's simple. The Prophet said Allah is a simple face. Islam is a simple face. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about this Islamism thing. And what time do we have? We're going to talk about this Islamism. And then after we talk about this Islamism, we're going to talk briefly about what does it mean to be descendants of Moroccans and born in America. Do you have any questions? Any comments? Anybody that want to add on? All is well? Okay. Oh, I got the wrong book. Okay, well, let's do this. In our Quran questions for Moorish Americans, Key 7 asks the question, what is our religion? The answer is Islamism. Key 18 goes forward by asking, is that the new or is that the old time religion? You know, it's the old time religion, right? Islam, Sheik. Islamism, or Islam, is the old time religion. How old is old? Any answers? Over 10,000 years old. That is a very interesting answer. Over 10,000 years old. So where do we think that Islamism started with? Do we think it started with the Prophet Muhammad, alayhi salam? Do we think it started with Prophet Abraham, alayhi salam? Okay. So when did Islam start? Islam was.
Islam arise, giving all praise to Allah, and the highest of honors was noble and divine prophet.
Islam.
I would assert that Islam started with Adam and Eve.
Okay. All right. We can go with that. And just to add on to that, Islam, as all things, it started from conception with the first creation with Allah, when time never was. That if we were to quantify that, that's when Islamism began. All right. I want to read from an article entitled "What is Islam?" in our Moorish Guides. For those who have, I'm sorry, not Moorish Guides, Moorish literature. For those who have Moorish literature, turn to the chapter where it says, "What is Islam?" And I want to hear Islam when we get there. For those who do not have a Moorish literature, are you able to share? No?
Islam.
I got you, sis.
Islam, can I get one of y'all?
All right, y'all share that.
And then we can all.
You just got the Quran, right? You don't have the Moorish Guide?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I got that.
Okay.
That's it.
Yes. All right. Y'all have it? All right. So once again, let me hear Islam where everybody has gotten to. What is Islam?
Islam.
All right. All right. It reads, Islam is a very simple faith. It requires man to recognize his duties toward God Allah, his creator, and his fellow creatures. It teaches the supreme duty of living at peace with one's surroundings. It is preeminently the religion of peace. The very name Islam means peace. The goal of a man's life according to Islam is peace with everything, peace with Allah and peace with man. If we were to reference this from the Holy Quran, the Moorish Science Temple of America, there is a instruction that says when the will of man and the will of Allah is one, resurrection is a fact. All right. I mentioned this before when we delve into the chapters of the Moorish Science Temple of America, or the chapters of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. We have the story. Who do we have the story on? From chapters 2 to 19, what is the story about? Or what are the chapters about? Chapters about Jesus, right? Am I wrong? Chapters 2 through 9 is about Jesus, and a few chapters are about John as well, the harbinger. All right. So when we talk, so why Jesus? All right. Jesus was considered to be love made manifest. All right. But Jesus also did something that we, as considered Negroes and black people, are doing as well. Black, according to science, is what? Means death. And what did Jesus do? Jesus on the third day, what did he do? He rose. He resurrected himself, right? So if we are to learn, once again, if we are to learn how to do a thing, we have to trace ourselves back to someone that did it before. So if it is said that Jesus had perished in certain scriptures and he resurrected, and if we as considered to be black, Negro, black, and colored are considered to be of a dead people, we have to learn how to resurrect ourselves, right? We have to learn how to raise ourselves up, right? That is why we have the teachings of Jesus. He's also a redeemer. All right? He says that you can mend your ways with love. He went from India, Africa, and parts of Europe teaching love and unity. Islam? These are the priests. We're not just getting the degree of Jesus or the religion or the teachings of Jesus just to be getting them. There's a message in the wisdom. Islam? So then it goes on by saying in the second paragraph, the Quran, the holy book of Islam, tells us that the final abode of man is the house of peace, Darul Islam, where no vain word or sinful discourse will be heard. The holy divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali, says that a follower of Islam, in true sense of the word, is one whose hands, tongue, and thoughts do not hurt others. I'm going to say that again. The holy and divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali, alayhi salam, says that a follower of Islam, in the true sense of the word, is one whose hands, tongue, and thoughts do not hurt others. All right? That's a tall order, isn't it? Prophet tells us to know thyself and thy Father God Allah, so you may learn to love instead of hate. The object, and we're on the third paragraph, the object of man's life according to Islam is complete unfoldment. Unfoldment of what? What are we unfolding? We're unfolding that perfect seed. Go back to the chapter 1 of the Moorish Holy Quran. I hope those that have Moorish Holy Qurans are studying their Moorish Holy Qurans. If you go back to chapter 1, it talks about that perfect seed being planted in the soil and being cultivated so it may come out of that soil and raise into full bloom, to full unfoldment. All right? Islam teaches man that man is born with unlimited capacities for progress. Islam does not support the idea that man was born in sin. Again, we're getting away from this ideology of European psychology. All right? It says going back to the mindset of your foremothers and your forefathers. So we have to, it is important for us to include ourselves in the cosmic scheme of things. We cannot consider ourselves to be separate from society. We can't say, oh, that's just them. Islam, oh, that's just the Arabs over there. Christianity, oh, that's just the Europeans up there. Buddhism, all that stuff, oh, that's just them. Then what do we have? Islam teaches that man was born with unlimited capacities for progress. Islam does not support the idea that man was born in sin. It teaches that everyone has within them a seed of perfect development, and it rests solely within himself. Here you go, Sheik Brother Raphael. To make or mar his fortune. The cardinal doctrine of Islam is unity of the Father God Allah. We believe in one God. All right? Allah, who is all God, all mercy and all power. All right? He is perfect and holy in all wisdom, all knowledge, all truth. All right? She's going to have to help me out with some of these. So we have Ahad, all one, correct? And we got mercy, Ar-Rahman, all right? Then we have power. You're going to have to help me out with power. Is it Qadr? Al-Qadr? Yeah, okay. Then we have perfect and holy. I don't know perfect and holy more.
Perfect, I don't know. Holy Al-Qudus.
Al-Qudus, okay. Then we have all wisdom, Haq. All right. Then we have all knowledge. Al-Alimu. Yes, right? Because Allah is all-knowing. All right. And all truth. Al-Haq, once again. These are some of the great attributes as far as we can understand. How many know brothers named Hakim or Hakim? All right. These are some of the great attributes so far as we can understand. He is free from all defects, holy and transcendent. He is personal to us in so far as we see his attributes working for us and in us. but he is nevertheless impersonal. Because he is infinite, perfect, and holy, we do not believe that death, decay, or sleep can overtake him. Neither do we believe that he is a helpless or is a helplessly inactive or inert force. Nothing happens without his knowledge and will. He neither begets nor is he begotten. All right? Because these are the trials of a frail and weak humanity. All right? Now let's stop right here. Now, what is our Prophet Noble Drew Ali saying in this idea and concept? Now, I want us to think about something. Again, for those that are familiar with the Moorish Holy Quran, it states that man's ideal is his God. And as man unfolds, his God unfolds. But we also consider Allah to be what? The great God. So now the question is, what is the great ideal? In other words, what is it that we invoke as Moorish Americans, being descendants of Moroccans, who in turn are descendants of the ancient Moabites, which we know that Moab means what? Of the Father. So what idea are we perpetuating? All right. It says it right here, being free from all defects, holy and transit. He's personal to us. His attributes are working for us and in us. He's infinite, perfect, holy. This is the idea. This is the deific life that we are striving to achieve when we come up those 12-step ladders. The last one is give him religion and his death should be what? Happy. This unity of Allah is first and foremost pillar of Islam, is the first and foremost pillar of Islam, and every other belief hangs upon it. So regardless if we call him Rahman, if we call him Ra, Olodumare, whether anything, this is it. This is it. No name, he is known of many names, because everybody sees Allah in a different way. Some people may see him as just the Allah of mercy. During the time of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam, there was another Prophet Muhammad who didn't refer to Allah as Allah, he referred to him as Rahman. Am I correct, Sheik?
Yes, Rahman.
Musa. So this is not a unnew thing. All right? So that is one of the first keys when we get to Islam or Islamism. All right? That does not mean that we are all to be Assalamu alaikum Moors. All right? Granted that we are to be missionaries and to promote the faith of Ali in America, that does not mean that we are to pray 5 times a day and etc., etc. If that is your choice, then that is the relationship between you and Allah. But as you look upon your nationality card, it says what? We honor all true living prophets. Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, Confucius, Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, yes. We honor those. So even if you want to take those or anything outside of that, but the key is, as I mentioned before, that it is important for you to filter it through this Moorish lens. So me personally, I'm a practitioner of the degree of Muhammad. But as I said before, my degree of Muhammad is filtered through this lens. So there's certain things that I'm going to do by way of the degree of Muhammad that is not going to be to the broader ummah, and that's okay, because I am supposed to perpetuate my culture, my Moorish culture. All right. When you look at the writings, I want everybody to write this down, of Ibn Battuta or of Leo Africanus, as I mentioned last Sunday school. These are chroniclers that talked about the Moors living in sub-Saharan Africa. They said that some of these Moors were just Muslims by name and name only. That some of them were still practitioners of their cultural beliefs. All right? I didn't get a chance to bring it today. I actually forgot. There is a how many of us are familiar with the Ifa faith? All right. So within the Ifa faith, there are records where you see a text that gives the Odu or the binary or a divination of the Ifa faith, and then right over after the Odu you have the Bismillah Rahim and the Al-Fatiha. So the Yoruba culture at that time was still preserving their culture, but they were also adapting the tenets of Al-Islam because it wasn't any different from them. They didn't see any differences. They just saw that they were more they related more to those customs. All right, it's the same thing for us. So this is not a new thing. So when we talk about Al-Islam, when we talk about Islamism, we have to remember that is our religion. Our religion is Islamism. All right, that is important to us and how we want to determine to practice our Islamism. All right, Moors. All right, a few more things, and then I'm going to lower them, and then I'm going to yield the floor. So I'm going to pass around a few things, and I'm going to get our Grand Sheik to touch a little bit more on this. I just want to open the floor because this will be it's another measure in itself. All right. All right. In your Quran questions, one of the keys Key 14 in our Quran questions in our catechism says, why are we Moorish Americans? Because we are descendants of Moroccans and born in America. All right? We are descendants of Moroccans and born in America. All right? What does it mean to be a descendant? Again, what does it mean to be a descendant? Yes, sir.
Praise to Almighty God Allah, beneficent, the merciful, and His holy and divine prophet Noble Ali.
Islam.
To be descendant means you come from a line of descent, meaning that is where your people come from.
Okay.
There's a point of origin that you originate from.
Right. Okay. Yes. So when you say that you're a descendant of Moroccans and born in America, there's a difference between descendancy and ancestry. All right. Ancestry is by blood. All right. When we talk about descendancy, we're talking about a point of origin. We're talking about a shared ideology. All right. So us being from the Moroccan Empire or the Moorish Empire, that Moorish Empire was vast. All right. I want to share with you a few pictures, a few images. All right. Brother Jalil. Islam, Moor. You doing all right? All right. Praise Allah. I want you to pass as much as this particular image out as possible. For those who do not get one, remember to share. This is the beginnings of Al-Morocc or the Moorish Empire. Oh, wrong one. We'll go to that one in a minute. All right, there you go. I think we got like maybe 2 or 3. So make sure that brothers on one side get it and the sisters on the other end get it so we can pass that around. All right. That is the Moroccan or the Moorish Empire. That is the beginning of the Moroccan and the Moorish Empire. What I urge you all and encourage you all to do is when we talk about this Moorish Empire, we have to look at it in circumspect. All right. There's a mastermind that taught me a long time ago not to just look at what happened in Europe, not to look at what happened in Morocco, not to look what happened in Spain. Things happened in 1492. Matter of fact, let's do this. What happened in 1492 during the time of the transatlantic slave trade? There was another war going on the other side with the Turks. And that actually had to work in conjunction with what was going on with the transatlantic slave trade. The transatlantic slave trade in part was provoked from what happened in 1453 with the fall of Constantinople. When we talk about that, those who are familiar with the papal bulls, etc., etc. Because the Vatican did not want to deal with those Moors and those Turks and the Muslims anymore. All right? Now, again, for the sake of time, I want to talk about, I want you all to research 2 dynasties in particular. And these 2 dynasties should open up the other dynasties. Actually, I'm going to go through a few of them. All right. Look up the Almoravid dynasty. Almoravid, Almoravid, the Almoravid dynasty. All right. The Almohad dynasty, Almohad, Almohad dynasty. All right. I want you all to research the Songhai Sultanate, Songhai, Songhai. All right. I want you to research Ghana or Gao, Gao. Right. I want you to research Mali. Mali. All right. Now, specifically, when we talk about the Moorish being descendants of Moroccans and born in America, it's important for us to look at what happened and why did we say that, that we're descendants of Moroccans and born in America? Because the Almoravid dynasty was a main contributor of that dynasty. All right. I'm going to pass around a few maps. All right. You all can share that. What you're looking at is the Almoravid dynasty. All right. Again, what you're looking at, the first one I gave to you was the map of the early Al-Moroccan Empire. And then I'm going a little bit further in the future, and you're looking at the Almoravid dynasty. All right. Then, all right. How far does that reach? How far is that empire? That was from Al-Andalus, or Al-Andalusian Spain, all the way down is touching parts of Mali. All right. And within those parts of Mali, you have certain tribes and groups of people. Just in case you all, and please pardon me, I know I'm going kind of fast, but I'm giving you just enough for you to research. All right. Everyone's familiar with this famous image, right? Image that I'm showing you now is the image of the famous Mansa Musa, right? But who is this brother on the left? Who's that brother on the left? Your brother's name is Abu Bakari, General Abu Bakari. He was the general of the Almoravid dynasty. This is a map or an image of Mansa Musa, or it was suggestive, I don't want to invoke anything, it's suggestive that Mansa Musa and this general know each other. During the time of the Almoravid dynasty, we can see that the Mali Empire was during the phase of transitioning out of it. They were actually warring. Then you have, now, just with those two, again, I do apologize for moving kind of fast. Then you have the considered transatlantic slave trade. Oh, it's transatlantic. Nope. Thank you, sir. Then you have the transatlantic slave trade. Why is it? Now, when we look at the transatlantic slave trade, we see that the transatlantic slave trade, or they're only all on the shores. Those are just the piers. It doesn't necessarily mean that all of those quote-unquote slaves or soldiers of war in captivity came from those areas. Those are the only way that you can go out. You can't jump from Mali across to the sea. You're going to have to travel. You have to travel through Ghana. That's why I'm telling you in your notes to research the Gao dynasty, because the Gao dynasty or the Gao empire was an Islamic empire within Ghana. So when we talk about and over this, again, going back to the Almoravid dynasty, it's stretching from Spain all the way down to Africa. That is just a minor part of the rulership in the reign of that Moorish empire, because the Moorish empire went through several dynasties. Didn't have just that one dynasty. All right. Now, let me see. Sheik, if I can get about 10 more minutes. All right. I tried to pull this up, but it was out time constraints. I want to have you all listen to something. See if I can pull it up real quick. Do we have any questions while I'm pulling this up on YouTube about the correlation of the empires and the transatlantic slave trade? All right. If y'all do have questions, or you think it's a little bit too in depth because of time, once we lower the meeting, y'all are welcome to pull me aside and we can discuss it further. Again, the idea is to show you all how vast this Moorish empire was. And when you hear these quote unquote empires of Songhai, etc., you know, again, this is someone else. This is the European giving you this history. If anything, you should be hearing this from those that came from your lands. All right. I'll give you an example. See if I can find it. All right. For those who write this book down, I got this from a mastermind quite some time ago, or earlier this week rather. All right. The name of this book is called The Journey of the Songhai People. All right. The Journey of the Songhai People. And it reads, in part, says the original Moors. The original Moors and the Egyptians were black, like the indigenous black nations in northern and southern Kim or Kemet, in time to be known as Al-Kibulan, which was later named Africa by the Greeks. This amalgamation became more and more widespread. Only Berbers, Arabs, and colors in the Moroccan territories were called Moors, while the darkest and black-skinned Africans were called, can someone guess? Blackamoors. Eventually, black was particular to all Muslims, Arabs, mixed breeds, and Berbers who were readily regarded as Moors. All right. And I'm just going to read that, and I'm going to read that in part. Again, the name of the book is called Journey of the Songhai People. And then we have this, the golden trade of the Moors as well. All right. See if I can pull this. $46. All right. There's a chapter 4, Sahara and Sudan. For those, I encourage you all to look at maps of antiquity. I think the earliest map that I was able to find, I think was like the 1200s. If you look at the earlier maps of antiquity, you see that there was a East Sudan and then there was a West Sudan. All right. And the West Sudan was also known as the Sahara or as well. All right. But this is a what you would call a epilogue or a quote to begin from the chapter. All right. This part of the world by the Africans or Moors, so properly called, which last are of two kinds, namely the white or tawny or tan Moors and the Negroes or, what's the name? Blackamoors. You guessed it. All right. This quote was by a John Porey. Again, this quote was by John Porey. And the name of the book was called The Golden Trade of the Moors. All right. I'm actually doing this measure because I'm rushed through it a kind of disservice because I'm getting through it. Give me one more moment. I'm going to show you all a who all heard of the Geechee people? All right. You know, they're Muslims too, right? All right. Moore, can you make sure that that Bluetooth box is on? For anyone that has a copy of the Quran, turn to the Al-Fatiha. If you have an English version.
Is an almost forgotten community called the.
All right. Now I'm gonna just give you all a little preface real quick. Okay. Now, this episode on this video is by Vice TV. This talks about how the Geechee people, they're split, they're conflicted. You have the younger Geechee people that want to sell their land, and you have the older Geechee people that want to maintain their land. And so, since they cannot agree, they hold a meeting. They resort to, or not resort. I don't want to say resort. Resort is a bad word. They go to their ancestors. They go to their forefathers. They go to the higher plane. Just like we as Moorish Americans, if there is a disagreement, if there's a discord amongst one another, then we go to our sacred book, to our sacred text, and we resolve our issue. His name is resolution. All right? So for them to not be able to fully decide, they went on ahead and performed a ritual. And within these rituals, certain things take place. All right? And part of this, again, for those who have a copy of the Al-Fatiha, to read that. Oh, well, that's one reason. Is that turned off more? Is it on?
Jobs and have 9 to 5s and they're going to college and they work. Look,
Get this property right here.
oh yeah, they are moving in very.
But the thing of it is like I started something new. I started buying.
All right.
The situation on the Tusky Island right now, a lot of the native people are gone. The few pockets of Gullah Geechee,
All right.
St. Simon, the people.
Rooted in those their ancestors brought here more than 200 years ago.
I wish I had a big screen. I don't have a big screen. I'll send y'all the link.
In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, we give thanks and praises to God Almighty, Lord of all the worlds, Master of the day of judgment. Thee do we worship, and thy aid we seek. Show we the straight way, the way of those who aim to go astray. Amen.
All right. Then he goes on with the ancient Geechee tradition. But yes, Geechees are Moors. All right. This is not so when we talk about this construct, this social construct, this spiritual construct of being a Moorish American, we're talking about a broad thing. That's why our Prophet Noble Drew Ali could not restrain us to just being a member of a tribe, could not restrain us to being one of belonging to a specific demarcation line that was created by the Berlin Conference. All right, he had to show us that our culture, that our identity and our ideology is just as broad as the very concept of Allah that we hold dear to our heart. Islam?
Islam.
All right.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Hayya ala salah.